So AEW All In is happening this weekend, and the WWE has decided to go with the approach of quantity over quality. But we still have to talk about it. So let's look ahead now to WWE. Their first thing going up against All In on All In weekend, it is the Great American Bash. Nostalgia is the name of the game for NXT this weekend, as not only are we hearkening back to a classic WCW pay-per-view, but we are also going back to a classic WWE model to go against a classic WCW pay-per-view with some good old-fashioned counter-programming. But that seems to be where the conversation may turn, because when WWE was counter-programming WCW way back in the day when it was Jim Crockett Promotions, they were counter-programming with Royal Rumble and with Survivor Series and sometimes Saturday Night's Main Event, like some big marquee events that they were putting on. Now it's this, and this ain't all that great. I am very underwhelmed with everything here. It is so obvious that this is just here entirely to try to fuck with AEW, which is not a great thing. And it is opening themselves up to a conversation that I don't think they need to be opening themselves up to. This feels so extra and so over the top for me that I genuinely don't understand why they are choosing to try to counter-program with 3 shows in this way. And so when you look at the cards here, when we go over Great American Bash, Saturday Night's Main Event, Evolution to a certain degree, this feels every bit like oh shit, let's just throw something together and see what happens. Like this Great American Bash card. Let's talk about it. We only have, at the time of this recording, 3 matches. One of them is the men's title match with Obafemi taking on Inamura. I am interested in the match. I do not have much question about the outcome. When it comes to, is it going to be Inamura? Is it going to be Obafemi? I don't know. I do know. Sorry. I don't have any question. It will be Obafemi. The one question I have is, can Inamura show well enough of himself that NXT gets another main eventer out of this? That is what they need. On the men's side, we've talked about it so much since we've really started to put a focus back on NXT here on Couch Potato and Living Room Lariat. This men's main event scene is severely lacking right now. And Obafemi's awesome, but that whole promo that he cut about wanting competition, that's kind of a shoot because there's just not a lot for him right now. I don't know if Inamura is that right now. I'm fairly certain he's not. The one question is, can he get to that level? We'll see. I am a little intrigued by the tag team match. It's Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe taking on Fatal Influence. It's a chance to set up some drama in the women's title match at Evolution. That's the next night. I wonder if I would imagine some kind of an injury story to go into that. Or even JC Jane gets a win, and now she has this momentum, and maybe Jordan Grace, who has had a bit of a rocky start, maybe stops believing in herself a little bit like that, and you start to play into that momentum thing going into the next day. So I think that this provides an interesting storytelling device going into that match. And so I think that is a pretty effective way of going about this. The other match is Sol Ruca taking on Izzy Dame for the North American title. And I said before, I feel like Evolution should have been a spot where you had a real spotlight on a number of great performers from NXT, because that women's division is stacked. That's obviously not going to be the case now. Or I guess I shouldn't say obviously. Maybe they do. They set this up and it's a no contest or something like that. And okay, the only way we can decide this is tomorrow at Evolution in a blah, 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 blah match. I think that there is, I guess, a way you could do that. But it feels like if they weren't trying to shoehorn this into this one, this would be a great showcase opportunity for Sol Ruca and Izzy Dame to a certain degree at Evolution. But instead we get it on here. Now, there are a few ways this one can go. I was going to say, I don't think we're far enough in the Sol Ruca Zarya story yet to fully do this turn. It feels like there's a little bit of dissension that still needs to be there. But thinking about it, we have been teasing this for a while. There was a little bit of it at WrestleMania, and that was, or WrestleMania weekend, that was April. You might have heard here, jets flying over. It's the Calgary Stampede, which means it's the first week of July. So there's a lot that you can kind of talk about where these two have kind of gone, but it has kind of felt a little stale. So maybe there is a bit of freshening up that can jumpstart this and get it going. So I'm interested to see if there is a progression in that and what the inclusion of Tatum Paxley is in everything after her team. All of them get released, and so she is left wandering and into the warm welcoming gardens of the culling with Izzy Dame. I'm interested to see where she falls in. So, the matches they had, the matches they have aren't bad. Does it feel like a takeover of days gone by? No, but there's at least something to watch in all of these matches. There's just A, not enough of them, and B, the reasoning for it is so annoying that it is tough to really look past from a wrestling fan standpoint. So that is one part of the WWE calendar, the developmental one, so to speak. Then we get to the main event of Saturday night for WWE anyway, and the retirement of an icon. But again, it is kind of marred by just everything feeling so thrown together. Let's talk about it. WWE's Saturday night's main event will look to play off of nostalgia on a few different levels as we get the glitz and glam and the old 80s music of Saturday night's main event. And then in the main event, it is Goldberg looking to turn back the clock one more time in his retirement match against Gunther. But the whole thing hanging over this, again, is how obvious it is as a counterpunch to AEW going with All In. And this was one of the initial ways that Saturday night's main event really got going. And so I think that there's just a level of frustration, I think, that is probably coming through in all of this. And, like, you don't need to do this right now. AEW is nothing. Like, it's a really weird time for them to have started to do this to AEW because they're getting 3,000 fans to a show if they're lucky. And I just talked about in the AEW All In look ahead that it feels like that company is building momentum. But they weren't when you were scheduling this shit. So I don't understand why this needed to happen in the way that it did for WWE. And now you look at it, and again, we're recording this 2 o'clock on Monday, at Mountain Time. And so we're a few hours away from Raw. We have 3 matches scheduled for NBC. And I get network television, not the big draw that it used to be. But still, this is supposed to be at least a big showcase type of a thing for you. And you have 3 matches ready because everything has been so goddamn scrambled with everything going on, trying to counter AEW as much as possible, that it feels very sloppy. But again, much like with Great American Bash, there's at least things to be intrigued by in all 3. So let's start. Gunther against Goldberg. It is the world title match in Goldberg's retirement match. I have really enjoyed the build-up to this. I think Gunther has been spectacular. I think Goldberg has been very effective at being Goldberg. I think that there will probably be on Monday some kind of physicality or something to just kind of drive home like, hey, Goldberg actually doesn't look all that bad, unless maybe he does and then they don't. But I would imagine there will be at least a little bit of some kind of a social media thing that you can get going with Goldberg to really try to, like, hey, make sure you tune in to see this guy maybe spear and maybe jackhammer one more time. It is not going to be a Matt Classic. I don't think anyone in their right mind is expecting it to be, but I am fascinated to see how this one goes. LA Knight against Seth Rollins. I think it's an interesting one. It does feel like we've kind of skipped some steps along the way to get to this point. We just had, LA Knight got cost in a couple of matches, so he went out after Seth Rollins, and now we're going to have a gigantic match on Saturday night's main event. It feels like we've skipped a couple of steps here, and part of it is they're on different brands for the most part, so you kind of got to speed run through a few of these things, but I am interested in this one because this is one of the better in-ring performers that LA Knight is going to be in the ring with. And so this is for a guy who has been really bumping up on what they are looking for as a main event guy. It feels like this is an opportunity for him to show, look, I can hang with the best wrestlers you got. Give me these opportunities now. So this is a big match, I think, for him. Storyline purposes, I would be surprised if Rollins loses this bout, but I think that there is at least a level of intrigue in this, in just seeing how it looks. And then Randy Orton against Drew McIntyre. it is kind of wild that the last time we saw Drew was on a Saturday night's main event and he was getting blasted by a chair as Damian Priest walked out of the ring, much to the dismay of Jesse the Body Ventura. But to now have Drew miss all that time and come back ahead of Damian Priest on the card is a little bit interesting. I hope, like, this is going to be a fun match, and I hope it is just the first of a few, because these two would have such a good feud and such a great back and forth. I would be very, very excited to see a longer-term program of Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. But again, the fact that we have 3 matches to talk about on the Monday leading up to Saturday night's main event, it shows you how everything is with WWE around this one. So again, a little bit of frustration. Not that it's happening, but why it's happening here this weekend. One more show from the WWE, and it's the one that deserves the attention and the accolades. For the second time, WWE is showing off its evolution on the women's wrestling side as the all-female show is set to close out what is a busy weekend in WWE and in professional wrestling. So what's ahead for us in what should be a pretty fun and pretty important night? Let's take a look. Closing in on 900 of these things. I'll get them right one day, though. It is such a busy weekend in wrestling, and the busyness is one of the reasons why people are a little frustrated, and I hope that they don't overlook what is happening with Evolution, because we all have our thoughts about TKO and WWE as a whole, and the world of professional wrestling's treatment of women in general. But I will say that it is really great that we are having this type of a showcase again. And I understand the first one was based largely around Ronda being there and everything like that. I hope that this is an annual thing now, to really put that spotlight on just how many talented women performers there are in WWE right now, and how kind of overlooked a lot of them can be. There have been stretches, and I would argue that we are kind of in that now, where, like, there's been some great stuff, obviously, creatively, WWE-wise, and character work-wise, over the last little bit, but you're going to have a tough time convincing me that Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky, that there's a whole lot that has been definitively better than what those three have done to start this year. Or that triple threat match at WrestleMania involving Io, Rhea, and Bianca Belair. You're going to have a tough time showing me that that isn't the match of the year, especially from WWE. This is the type of a spotlight that these women have deserved. And I think, okay, it is great to do this. I do think that there now needs to be a building off of it. It's been a while since they have put a women's match in the main event on a PLE. And I think that we have had a few pretty deserving opportunities for that, and they haven't. Now, obviously, this one's going to get it. But I think that this is a chance for them to kind of reset their view on this and really dive into what is a strength of this company, and that is the talent on the women's roster. And you think of the influx of talent that they have had in the last little bit with Stephanie Vaquer and with Julia coming in. They get Kairi Sane back. Asuka is now back and healthy. You've had progressions of Tiffany Stratton, who maybe hasn't hit what they wanted her to hit, but is still progressing. You have Jade now moving into a main event picture. You have Io, who has really found her character. And like I said before, Liv Morgan, who's turned into a superstar in the last little bit. Roxy Perez, we didn't even talk about her. Like, there are so many talented performers on the women's side. And so hopefully this is a nice reminder to the company that this type of a spotlight doesn't need to happen just one time a year with one particular show. It does feel like of the weekend, though, it does have, like, it has the most matches set up. It has the most just like, okay, this is what we're doing here. So it's pretty fun to see what is all kind of scheduled. You don't love every way that it has been put together, but I still think it's an interesting way and a couple interesting matches. What I'm fascinated to see now for Monday is who is the Raw tag team. I can't imagine that Nikki Bella came back to be in this battle royal. And I get the Liv injury kind of throws things off a little bit, but I would guess that they are the Raw tag team. Nikki and Brie come in as the tag team, win this number one contender thing. They go into the tag team title match and build it up that way. So I think there are going to be some really good matches. I think this is going to be a really, really good show. And I am hoping coming out of this now, there is a renewed focus on this division that is a strength of the WWE right now. So once again, for all the pro wrestling talk from Couch Potato Diary, there's still going to be segments on Couch Potato. That's not going away. So if you're here for the sports and the wrestling, keep it locked because it's all going to be here. But if you just want the wrestling, it is over on Living Room Lariat with some stuff that you don't hear on the flagship podcast. So make sure you subscribe to Living Room Lariat wherever you get your podcasts.